We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us, talking about all that's out there with some of the apps, the concerns for parents, and I guess the traps out there for teens who maybe don't know what they're encountering. We have our guests with us from Vanderbilt who have created an app that I think helps parents monitor the teens, and the teens can monitor the parents right back with what you both have come up with. And all right, so I guess what we want to talk about now maybe is what is out there with regard to the apps that teens may or may not be aware of getting into, and then what they find themselves encountering. And that's kind of what I'm curious. I know some of the basics from our news stories that we do for teens, the sexting and things like that. But what else are we seeing now?
Yeah. So when we did this research, we saw that parents are more concerned about what are the apps their teens are using. So they are more aware of the online safety issues that their kids can face online. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, that is really interesting because we know that the kids are tech savvy, and we saw that kids are more interested to explore what are the permissions granted to the apps
mm-hmm.
that their parents are using. So they were kind of pointing towards, hey mom, your Facebook has your location or microphone. So that's really interesting. They're more focusing on the malicious intent of the technology itself, not the hey, what apps you're using.
Yeah, you mean the microphone, and so they
Yes.
may point out to the parent, which tells me again that it's working, that it's making them aware of what's there.
And so
that's a good point.
The youth might be more aware of the technology, cybersecurity type level risks.
Yeah.
I think where they become more susceptible, like you were saying, is in some of those social risks.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, encountering predators online, or being asked to be somebody's sugar baby, or even just some of the mental health risks that we're seeing, especially now after the COVID pandemic. Youth are confiding in one another through social media spaces about suicidal ideation, self-harm. And we as parents need to be equipped to talk to our kids about, if your friend's encountering a mental health issue, what are some of the things we could do to help?
Okay, so yeah, that mental health aspect of it, where they get together and start. So we've probably seen cases, I'm sure, where they're on there where they may be depressed and they start talking about suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And they could, because they're both talking about it. What did you use the phrase? They could egg each other on?
So there's research that shows that there is an emotional or suicide contagion effect.
Right.
That's possible if we have a group of youth kind of delving down into some of their negative thoughts without somebody being able to mediate and step in to say well, what are some healthy coping mechanisms? So some of the research in our lab has studied some of the effects of social and suicide contagion, as well as building other apps for suicide safety planning for youth.
Mm-hmm.
So in our lab, we kind of have this gamut of research that we're doing for the social good and well-being of our youth. And co-ops is just one of those examples, because the idea here is that we want to start that conversation between parents and teens by drawing from both of their strengths. Mm-hmm. Parents might
mm-hmm.
understand
mm-hmm.
some of the more social risks that are out there and be able to talk to their teens about it, where we can also draw from teens to say, hey dad, you don't want that app because it's tracking your location.
And my son's done that. I mean, and I was not aware of that. Still, like you were saying, there's a dictionary app.
Yes.
Okay, you think it's a dictionary to look up words and things like that, and it also has somehow accesses your phone's microphone?
Yes, so many of the apps that particularly adolescents found on their parents' phone, that these are the apps very general purpose use, for example dictionary or I can't recall the other apps, but okay, let's say a dictionary. So those dictionary have microphone or location permission granted, and which are
meaning when you download that, it's granting them access without realizing it by downloading it, granting them access to activate your microphone, so someone somewhere through the dictionary app could listen to what you're saying?
The thing is, these apps sometimes gives a pop-up message to the user that grant access to microphone. So so as a user, sometimes like, oh, we got a message, we somehow need to hit something to move this message away. So without even reading, they access or allow these permissions to this apps.
And then when that happens, when they gain, what happens when they gain access to your microphone? What
Well,
kind
and
of
that's
bad
the
things
question,
happen?
because
I mean, they can hear what I'm interested in, what I'm doing, what I'm
Yes.
talking. They could, I don't know. It's an invasion of privacy.
it is, and I mean, and it runs the gamut, right? Because
Yeah.
it could just be used for something innocuous, like being able to do personalized and more targeted advertisements, like you were saying before, of like, I say this and all of a sudden this ad's popping up for me. But it could be used for more privacy invasive purposes. For instance, I've seen news stories about how we could use our Alexas to detect if somebody's depressed and be able to market antidepressants to them. And so we just have to create healthy boundaries between us and our technology and the information that we're sharing with it.
You talked about microphones. I'm just curious, aside from that, and we've done stories where threats have been made, and I've heard it's got to be pretty high tech. Are there apps that can activate the cameras on computers or phones? I mean, I'm sure it exists somewhere, but people have been threatened. Like for instance, I did a story where individuals were getting notified from some scam artist somewhere that we know that you look at pornography and we've activated a camera and we have you looking at the pornography and we're going to let people know you're looking at pornography, showing it, and people would pay money saying, please release it. But I did my research on it, and most people say they don't have access to that. They're not going to be able to activate it. Now, maybe at the very highest levels, NSA could do something like that. But have you heard of that, where the cameras get activated?
There is the possibility that a cyber attack could grant access to your camera or to your microphone.
Actually, like there are lots of apps. They access your camera. I mean, I saw.
Right.
Meaning that without you knowing it, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I mean, for instance, you might grant your camera permission without thinking about it, like she was saying, on your
Okay.
phone. And then if it's a malicious app, then it could use that permission because you granted it. And so to some extent, we don't want to think that all apps are out to get us, but at the other time, we need to help educate people that, you should do a privacy or security checkup on your phone to see, what apps on my phone have access to my location permission.
Right.
What have access to my contacts? Or
There's a way you can check all that. See,
There
that's what I'd
is.
have to ask my
Yes.
son to show me how to do.
and your son could probably show you how to do that.
No, right?
Yes.
See, I love that the two-way street, because there's so much I don't know. I'll just turn off my microphone and put a piece of tape over my camera. I literally do that.
do that.
I actually have heard like parents do that. Okay. you
Yeah, I
can
mean, I
take it
just do
away.
that.
They actually make privacy sensors for your phone or for your webcam on your computer that
Yeah.
it actually just like closes over like a little metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one way. You can't see a darn thing then. Let's go to James. James, good morning. Hi, James.
I got a great one, guys, and you guys probably already covered this, but if you get a basket, a really nice basket with some kind of tile, it can even be old remnants from cutting a ceramic countertop. You put that in the bottom of your basket, you lay your phone on it, and you charge it on top of that surface to keep from catching it afar, and just throw you a towel over the phone. Can't nobody see what your baby's doing.
Right. And I mean, and that's the thing. That's like being able to use physical
Yeah.
ways to protect your privacy and security. But I mean, you have to think about technology as a whole and how it's infiltrating our lives. There's
everywhere, yeah.
There's baby monitoring cameras that people have hacked into, and there's news stories of people talking to your baby through their baby monitors. And so almost every home today is a smart home to some extent, right? So do you have an Alexa speaker?
Yeah.
Right, that's a
Sure.
smart home device.
And I'm very aware of that.
right?
God knows what they've heard. I don't give a crap. But I
Well,
mean,
did you know that you can actually go into your settings and you can download all of the recordings from Alexa to see what they have recorded?
really? No, but you think for sure they've recorded stuff?
I
well,
also
they
wanted
do.
to add one thing.
What do they record?
like-
What are they recording? I mean,
So there is many parental control apps. So these apps parents use to monitor their kids, but the developers like they are stealing or misusing those information, like wherever the kids goes, and they're selling this information to the third parties.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And you know, of all this, we're going to come back and have our final segment here. It just highlights again for me, and social media has done, like I said, social media, computers, everything, it's a blessing and a curse, not going anywhere. But it highlights to me just how many lowlifes are out there trying to take, I mean, just absolute scum that are trying to either victimize children or steal from people. And I'm sick of it. And the problem is, when these people strike, it's next to impossible to ever catch them. And if I would, I'd love to catch a few and introduce them to the end of my baseball bat. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back, our final segment with our guests right after this. Yeah,